Thank you. Hello.
Hello, teacher.
Hello, Min. How are you this evening?
I'm very good.
Good. So there's a lot of people around the house at the moment. It's a bit noisy, so I've just moved outside so I can hear you a little bit better. Okay. So our topic for this evening is cooking. Where are we? So what would you like to start with this evening? We've got four sections to cover. We could have a bit of a conversation, just have a bit of a free talk, or we could work on a bit of theory about how we construct a sentence in English, or we could work on some vocabulary to start. What would you like to get started with?
I would like to get started with a free talk.
Free talk?
Yeah.
Okay, so cooking. Tell me a little bit about tell me some things that you know about cooking, or maybe tell me a story about a time that you cooked something or helped mum or dad cook something in the kitchen.
Well, last year I went. I helped my mom. Last summer, and then I was at home alone with my sister, my little sister.
Yep. Was that the princess that I met last week?
Yeah, but she's outside with mom.
Ah. So you were helping mum cook last summer. What did you help her cook?
Last summer I was at home with my little sister, so my mom and dad goes to work.
Yep.
They locked the door, so we couldn't go outside.
Keeping you safe, that's good.
After that, I decided to cook for mom and dad.
You decided to cook what, sorry?
I decided to cook for mom and dad.
Very nice. And what did you decide to cook for mum and dad?
I decided to cook and I would like to cook mom and dad a fried egg.
Oh, yum. I love a good fried egg.
Or some, and I get out the vegetables.
Ooh, what kind of vegetables did you get?
I don't know them in English.
Ah, well, that might be something that we can talk about a little bit later. We could maybe talk about a few different vegetables if we've got time. So talk to me about, how did you fry the egg?
Well, fry the egg. First, I need I don't know how many eggs I put. 4 eggs.
You needed to what, sorry?
I need first I need eggs.
You do.
My dad sometimes make fried egg with 7 eggs.
He makes fried eggs or what, sorry?
My dad sometimes cook with 7 eggs. Fried eggs.
7 eggs. That's a lot of eggs.
I only use 4 eggs.
You only use 4. Is that one for everybody?
No, it's not. I made a whole big one with 40 eggs.
You made one whole big one with 4 eggs.
Yeah.
You must have a big appetite.
No, it's for my family.
Ah. So, you get the eggs out. What happens next? Tell me a bit more about how you fry the eggs.
I need to check a bit.
Mang đấy có đúng không làm đúng hả? Mang bằng gì? Mang là gì nữa? Mình mang bằng gì? Gì? Cái gì đi? Để mang gì? Cái gì? Không biết từ đó anh tìm làm gì nữa? Biết biết từ nó làm nhanh và thì nó làm nhanh. Nó là tiếng Anh mà có là tiếng Anh mà. Nói là tiếng Anh này đi. Không thử rằng là
Welcome back.
có tìm được file làm gì? Tôi không biết từ đó hả? Hay sao? À, hay sao?
Hello. Can you hear me?
I can hear, yes, I can hear you.
Cool. Okay, so you were telling me about a time that you fried some eggs for everybody.
Yes.
So you've gotten the eggs out, they're ready to be fried. What did you do next?
I cracked the eggs in a bowl.
You cracked the eggs in a bowl. And then what
Yes.
happened?
They put some onions in there.
Oh, yum. And then what
Then
happened?
I put a little bit of fish sauce.
So we've got some onions and some fish sauce mixed in with the eggs. Yum. What else?
Yes, and then I mix them.
Mix them all together.
And then I put it in the pan
Cool.
and I fry them.
Yum. So did you put anything in the pan while it was heating up? Did you use any oil or butter?
I only used oil with onion.
Nice, because we don't want the eggs sticking to the pan. Very good. So we've got onions, fish sauce, and egg frying in a pan with some oil. That sounds like a tasty little meal, Min. And then what happened? What happened next after you fried the eggs?
Then my mom and dad came home and fried the rest for me.
Very nice.
And then
What did-
they used a chopstick, a pair of chopsticks to
And what
flip.
did they use those chopsticks for? To flip it?
Yeah, to flip the egg to make it smaller.
Okay.
Then they flip the egg with the spatula. I don't know.
A spatula?
Yeah, spatula.
Cool.
Then they
And what happened next?
put the egg in a plate.
So they served it up.
The vegetables, I don't know. But my mom, I already watched it. But my mom cook it. Yeah.
Very nice.
So we only have a dinner with fried egg and rice.
Fried egg whites.
Rice and
Rice.
and vegetable. Yeah.
That sounds like a delicious meal.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm just writing down a few notes here. That sounds quite good. Well done. So there were really only a couple of things that I feel that I need to address in your talking just then, but overall, very well done. So the first thing that I noticed, which is something we can come back to later, is your use of, I believe they're called presuppositions, which means words that tell you where something is. So when you mentioned before about putting the eggs on the plate, you said that the eggs were put in the plate. So in that instance, because the plate is flat and the eggs go on top of it, you would say the eggs were put on the plate.
Eggs go on the plate.
That's it. They go in. They go in a bowl. If it's a bowl, because it has to go inside. But if it's going on something flat, then it's just on.
It's on.
So I am going to ask you a couple of questions. and I want you to tell me if something should go in or on. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. All right, we'll do an easy one to start. Do the eggs go on the plate or in the plate?
They go on the plate.
Very good. Would the eggs go in the bowl or on the bowl?
They will go in the bowl.
Very good. Okay. Would the book go on the shelf or in the shelf?
The book will go on the shelf.
Very good. One more. Would you put the milk in the fridge or on the fridge?
We put the milk in the fridge.
Very good. Very good, Min. Okay. The next thing that I wanted to talk to you about was just in particular was the sound TH or so there were a couple of times while you were telling me about the eggs, and whenever you used a word that had the sound TH in it, you didn't pronounce it quite softly enough. Sometimes it would come out as a little bit of a D sound or a T sound. So I just want to correct that. So anytime you want to pronounce, anytime you want to pronounce a word that has the letters TH next to each other in that word, you would pronounce it as. So what you need to do to create that sound is you actually want to put your tongue in between your teeth. So the. So have a try at that. The.
The.
Oop. Sorry, the video just froze up. Ah, there you are. You're back. Oops. Hello. Min?
I think.
Chị là bắt đi lên. Bắt đi lên. Nói cho máy.
Reasons.
There you are. Sorry, you just the video just completely froze on me there for a moment. So try that again so I can hear it. So we're looking to create the sound the or TH.
I don't think so.
So yeah, so when we create that sound, I'm just trying to show you how to do it without sticking the camera right in my face. But you really want to just get the tip of your tongue, so the tip of your tongue just in between your teeth. So it's that's it. And then so to create the sound, you don't actually want to speak. So you don't want to go, well, you can, but to create the soft version of the sound, you just want to just breathe softly. So it's just if you were to word two teeth,
T.
Hold on, Min. The,
Do you have internet?
yeah, I've got. I'm hotspotting from my phone. Hello, Min. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. Excuse me. Okay. There you are. Sorry, for some reason the video just keeps freezing on me this evening. So yes, the two ways that you can use that sound is so if you can use it softly, so like in the word tooth. So say tooth for me
Tooth.
again.
Tooth. Tooth. Tooth.
Tooth.
Tooth.
Better.
Tooth.
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 Again.
Tooth.
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 All right. So and the other way that you can use that is if you are going to say, for example, the word the or this or that. So say some of those words. This,
This.
that.
That.
Good. Good. So the difference between those sounds is whether or not you are actually using your voice box, your vocal cords. So so sorry, whether or not you're using your vocal cords. So this time I want you to say this tooth.
This. Tooth.
Good, very good, very good. So yes, whenever you come across a word in English that has the letters TH next to each other, it will be one of those two pronunciations, either or v. Very good. Okay, so we'll do a bit of vocabulary next. So I thought, seeing as you wanted to talk about cooking, we could talk about some different methods of cooking. So I am going to say the word, and I just want you to tell me if you know what it means. If you do, we'll move on to the next one. If you don't, we'll talk about it for a moment. So the first one, we're going to talk about some wet cooking methods. And the first one is boiling.
Boiling.
Boiling, do you know what boiling is?
Boiling means to heat in hot water. Heat in hot water.
Very good. Very good. So the proper definition, but that was good.
Where are you? Let's see. Let's see. Something
I'm back. I don't know what's going on with the video this evening. I really don't. Okay. Give me just 2 moments. I'll get this. There we go. So yes, so boiling is the first one. And boiling is cooking. So boiling is cooking food in a liquid that is at boiling point. So basically just water that's so hot that it's starting to steam. Now, can you think of any food that you could boil perhaps?
We could boil carrots.
Very good. Can you think of another one?
We could boil chicken.
You can. You can. Okay, very good. Now, the next thing that I want to do before we move on to the next word is I want you to use the word boil in a sentence. We're going to use our future tense, our current tense, and our past tense. And we're going to use the word boiling in those sentences. So for future tense, you could say something like, I'm going to boil an egg.
I'm going to boil an egg.
Say that again.
I'm going to boil an egg.
Very good. Now, saying it in the current tense would be, I am boiling an egg.
I am boiling an egg.
You're boiling what, sorry?
I'm boiling an egg.
I'm boiling an egg.
I'm boiling an egg.
Very good. Now, if we were going to use past tense, we would say something like, I boiled an egg.
I boiled an egg.
Very good. So say those back to me. We're looking for future tense. What would we say?
We would say, I'm going to boil.
Very good. Current tense or present tense, what would you say?
I am boiling an egg.
Very good. And past tense?
I have boiled.
Very good. Very good. Now, our next cooking method is poaching. Do you know what poaching is?
I don't know.
So poaching is cooking food in a specific amount of liquid. So it's not like, so it's different from boiling, because when you boil your food, you just put lots of water in the pot and then you just throw the food in and boil it. But when you poach, there's a special, hello. There's a specific amount of liquid that you need to use, and the liquid is not as hot as when you boil something. So yeah, so boiling something uses hotter water than poaching something would. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. Now, the best example that I've got of a food that you can poach would also be an egg. So let's run through those sentences. If you're going to talk about poaching an egg in future tense, what would you say?
I'm going to poach an egg.
Very good. In the current tense.
I am poaching an egg.
Very good. And past tense.
I have poached an egg.
Terrific. Well done. Okay. Steaming. Do you know what steaming is?
I don't remember what steaming is.
Pardon?
No, I don't. I don't know steaming.
Okay. So you know when you are boiling water and it gets that hot that it starts to, that steam comes out of the top of the pot.
It's the steam of the water.
That's it. So when water gets that hot that it evaporates, or another word for it, which isn't entirely correct, but it gets the point across, would be when the water gets so hot that it basically disintegrates and it starts coming out of the top of the pot. That's what steam is. And you can use that to cook food. So you could steam vegetables, for example. You could steam some carrots or some green beans.
Or some radishes, right?
I don't actually know about radishes. I don't cook with them all that often. I think radishes are usual. I don't know enough about radishes to comment on that, but we will find out about radishes. Now, let's use steam in a sentence. So if you were talking about steaming in the future tense, what would you say? Steaming vegetables.
I have steamed vegetables.
That's past tense. What about future tense?
I'm going to steam the vegetables.
Very good. Current tense or present tense?
I am steaming vegetables.
Very good. And now past tense.
I have steamed the vegetables.
Terrific. Well done. Where's our next one? Oh, stewing. Do you know what stewing something is?
I don't know anything about stewing.
Stewing.
Stewing?
That's it. Stewing. Stewing.
Well, I don't know about stewing. Stewing.
It is absolutely, it makes incredible food, like some of the best tasting food you'll ever eat. So stewing is the slow cooking of food that has been cut into smaller pieces, and it gets cooked with the minimum amount of liquid possible. So we don't want to drown the food. We don't want to put too much into it. And then when you serve the stew, the food and the liquid are served together. So it's kind of like, it's very, very similar to a soup. So what type of meat do you like eating?
Well, I like to eat chicken.
Chicken. What else do you like? What other types of meat do you like to eat?
I also like bacon
Bacon. What else?
or beef.
Ah, beautiful. Now, beef is the most commonly stewed kind of meat. So for our sentences about stewing, we will use beef as an example. So in the future tense, how would you say it? Can't hear you, Min. You've gone quiet.
I'm going to steal the beef.
Very good. How would you say that in current tense?
I am stealing the beef.
Very good. Very good. And future tense, so past tense.
I have steal the beef.
Very good. Very good. Okay. Okay, our next form of cooking is braising. Have you ever heard that word before? Braising?
Braising?
Do you know what that means?
No, I don't know what that means.
Okay, so braising is a method of cooking in the oven, but unlike roasting or baking, the food is cooked in liquid in a covered pan. So basically you would get a big joint of meat and you'd put it in, say, a pan or a casserole dish, and you would cover it in liquid, and then you would make sure that that has a lid on it, and then you'd put that in the oven, and that helps keep the meat extra juicy and extra tender. So, do you like pork?
Yes, I like pork.
Yum. So we'll use pork for this example. If you were going to talk about braising in the future tense, how would you say it?
I am going to braise the pork.
Very good. How would you say it in the current tense?
I am braising the pork.
Good. And how would you say it in the past tense?
I have braised the pork.
Very good. Okay, so that covers all of our wet methods of cooking. So we're just going to go back and do a little bit of revision. So our first method of moist cooking was boiling. Do you remember what boiling means, or how would you boil something?
Boil means to put something in hot water.
Very good. How hot does the water have to be?
The water have to be hot an inch.
I'll give you a hint. The water has to be at boiling point. So the water's got to be so hot that it starts to evaporate. Okay, so our next method was, pardon?
Do I have to mention? You mean how many degrees?
If you know that, then sure.
My dad said water boiling is 100 degrees, so it can be steam.
Very good. That's entirely correct. Our next method was poaching. Do you remember what poaching means?
Poaching?
Do you remember what poaching was?
No, I don't remember what poaching was.
Okay, so poaching is very similar to boiling, except the differences are the amount of liquid used. So rather than just filling up a pot with water, you would use a specific amount of liquid to poach in. And the other difference is the temperature. So when you poach, excuse me, when you poach something, it doesn't want to be as hot as when you boil something. So poaching is below boiling temperature. Our next method was steaming. Do you remember what steaming was?
Steaming is like the water evaporates in the air through a hole in the pot.
That's it. And then you use that hot steam to cook whatever you're cooking. So most of the time, I think it's just vegetables or steamed buns. But yes, very good. Do you remember what stewing was?
I don't know what stewing is.
Okay, so stewing is where you cut up, so whatever food you're going to cook. So normally a stew would have both meat and vegetables in it, but whatever you're going to cook, you cut it up into, let's say, medium-sized pieces, not too big, but not too small. And then you put it in the pot with the liquid that you want to cook it in. So a lot of stews will have some quite nice liquid that it cooks in. So, you know, some chefs use a bit of red wine, some like garlic, spices, beef stock. So it's a really nice, rich, flavored sauce. And then when the food has been cooked in that liquid, you would serve the food with the liquid in the bowl. And that is stewing. And the last one is braising. Do you remember what braising was?
Braising means we put the food in a pot.
Yep.
Liquid, and then we keep the lid tight, and then we put it in the oven.
Beautiful. Exactly right. Now we're just going to quickly go over those words and just check the spelling of them, just to make sure that we've got you with the correct spelling. How did you spell boiling?
We spell B-O-E-L-E-N-G.
Oof, close. Change those E's to I's. B-O-I-L-I-N-G.
B-O-I-L-I-N-G.
Beautiful. So boiling. Very good. Poaching. How would you spell poaching?
I would spell P-O-C-H-I-N-G.
So close. You're just missing one letter. So after the O, but before the C, there's an A. So P-O-A-C-H-I-N-G.
Poaching.
You've gotten pretty close with both of those so far. You're doing good. Okay, our next word was steaming. How do you think you'd spell steaming?
I would spell S-T-E-A-M-I-N-G.
Perfect. Well done. How would you spell stewing?
I would spell S-T-E-W-A-I-N-G.
I think I heard that correctly. Just spell it one more time for me.
Stewing.
Perfect. And braising. How do you think you would spell braising?
Spell BRAISING.
Perfect. Well done. Well done. Okay. So let's move on to a little bit of English theory. So this is how we structure a sentence. So we've got four possible ways to structure a sentence. We will talk about the first two of them for sure. And if we've got time, maybe a third, the third type of sentence or the third structure for a sentence. So the first sentence, you already know about. It's just a simple sentence. And what makes it a simple sentence is that it just has one independent clause. So that, for example, would be, I braised the pork, or I poached the egg, because you're only talking about one, you're only talking about one thing, and that whole sentence is just about that one thing. So I kicked the ball, I poached the egg, I braised the pork, I steamed the vegetables. So the next type of sentence is called a compound sentence. And what a compound sentence means is it's a sentence that has two or more independent clauses. So when we talk about independent clauses, we're talking about two things that could work together either in the same sentence, or they could be broken up into two separate sentences, and you would still understand what the person was trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay. I'll give you an example. So sticking on the topic of cooking, I deep fried the chips and they were crunchy. So that's one sentence. I deep fried the chips and they were crunchy. But that could just as easily work as two separate sentences. So we could say, I deep fried the chips, full stop. They were crunchy, full stop. And you'd still understand what I was talking about. So let's come up with a couple of compound sentences so you can practice those. So on the topic of cooking, what happens when you boil vegetables?
When I boil vegetables?
Yep, what happens to, so carrots, for example, what happens to carrots when you boil them?
When I boil the vegetables?
Yep.
I saw the carrots getting darker.
But what happens to them? So if you eat a boiled carrot, what is different about it than if you were just to eat a raw carrot? Maybe it's a bit softer?
Or it's tastier.
It's tastier. Okay. So that's a good one. So we've got our two independent clauses there. So the first one is I boiled the carrots. And the second independent clause is they got tastier. So how would you say those two bits of information in a compound sentence?
Can you say that again, Peter?
Okay, so we have our two independent clauses. The first one is I boiled the carrots. The second clause is they got tastier. So how would you put those two clauses into a compound sentence?
The carrots get tastier when I boil them.
Close. What connects those two clauses is the word and. So you would say, I boiled the carrots and they got tastier.
I boiled the carrots and they got tastier.
Very good. Very good. So let's think of another few compound sentences that we could say about cooking. Okay, let's think of a cooking method. Pick a cooking method. What would you which cooking method would you like to make a sentence about?
Compound sentence here.
Pardon?
A compound sentence.
That's it. That's what we're working on at the moment. So let's build our compound sentence. So first of all, pick a cooking method that we've talked about this evening.
So I stewed the beef.
Very good. And now, what happens to the beef when it's been stewed?
When I stewed the beef, and it gets tastier.
Good, good. So just to increase the vocabulary that we use in these sentences, another thing that happens to beef when you stew it is it gets more tender. It gets softer because cooking it breaks it down and makes it nice and tender, so that when you put it in your mouth, you're not chewing on it like. Just makes it nice and tender. So how would we say that? I stewed the beef and?
I stewed the beef and it gets tender.
Good. Very good. Very good. Okay. Let's talk about frying for a second. We'll come up with one more compound sentence. We'll talk about frying chips. So what happens when you deep fry chips?
When I deep fry chips, the chips, and they get darker color. They
do. Very good. Very good, men. Now, the next type of sentence, we'll spend the last 5 minutes on this sentence, on this type of sentence. It's called a complex sentence. And what a complex sentence is it's one independent clause and one or more dependent clauses. So what a dependent clause is is something that happened because of the first thing you said. So in this case, you would say, the chips got darker because I deep fried them.
The chips got darker because I deep fried them.
Very good. So let's go back to a few of the other sentences that we used before, and we'll turn them from compound sentences into complex sentences. So really the only difference between a compound and a complex sentence is the use of the word and or the use of the word because. But I can say the exact same sentence and have it mean the exact same thing, and all I'm doing is changing the order of the sentence slightly. So for example, we'll actually stick to the chips sentence for just a minute. So if it was compound, we would say, I deep fried the chips and they got darker. Or I would say, as a complex sentence, the chips got darker because I deep fried them. So I've said the exact same thing. I've just said it in two different ways. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's finish off with a few more complex sentences. So we are, what was one of our compound sentences that we had?
I stewed the beef.
That's it. So I stewed the beef and
they get tender.
Good, and it got tender.
It got tender.
Now, how would you turn that into a complex sentence?
The beef got tender because I stewed it.
Beautiful. All right. There was another sentence that where we talked about carrots, and that was, I boiled the carrots and they got tastier. How would you turn that into a complex sentence?
The carrots got tastier because I boiled them.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Okay. This time, without any examples, I want you to come up with a complex sentence.
I come up with a complex sentence.
Pardon?
I come up with my own.
Yes, come up with your own.
It's about food. It's about food.
Yes, we'll keep it about food for this lesson.
The eggs are dark color because I fried them.
Very good. Very good.
He's moving around.
Okay. Give me one more. And actually, I've changed my mind this time. it doesn't have to be about food for these last couple. But first of all, I want you to give me a simple sentence. So that's just one thing. Just talk about one thing. There's no and or because. So just a simple sentence with one independent clause.
So what do you mean?
So the compound sentence had two parts to it. So for example, I kicked the ball is part one, and it hit Tom is part two. So a simple sentence would just have part one. So there would be no and or because to it.
I boiled the carrots.
Good. Give me one more simple sentence.
I fried the chicken.
Good. Now give me a compound sentence. So that is a sentence that would, for example, you have the word and in it.
A complex sentence.
A compound.
A compound sentence.
Yep. So that would be, for example, I kicked the ball and it hit Tom.
I boiled the carrots and they got tastier.
Good. Give me one more. Give me a different one.
I braised the chicken and it got tender.
Good. Good. And finally, give me a complex sentence. So that is a sentence that would use the word because. So Tom cried because the ball hit him.
The carrots are tasty because I boiled them.
Very good. Give me one more.
The chicken got tender because I braised it.
Very good. Very good. Now, so until our next lesson, part of your English study, I just want you to think of examples of simple sentences are easy enough, so don't worry about those. But I want you to think of some examples of compound sentences and complex sentences. I would like you to write down some examples of both of those. For this one, it can be about absolutely anything you want. It doesn't have to just be about cooking. And try to challenge yourself a little bit with these sentences. Don't just stick to the examples that we've covered in class tonight.
You want me to write out the complex and compound sentences?
Yes. You don't have to go crazy. Like you don't have to write out like, 20, 30 or 40 sentences or anything like that. Just come up with, say, maybe 10 compound sentences and 10 complex sentences. And they can be about anything you want.
Okay.
Okay. Min, you have done absolutely fantastic this evening. I thought that was a great lesson. So your mum and dad will be in touch with Dorothy to book your next lesson in. And when they've got that confirmed, I'll see you whenever they've booked it for.
Hi.
Hello. So have a lovely evening, guys. Make sure you get a good night's sleep, and I'll see you when the next lesson's been booked. Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye, teacher. Bye, teacher.
Bye-bye.